Good morning, children of Standard 5. Today in science, we are going to read about animal migration of chapter 8, Animal World. In this, first of all, we will know what is migration. So, many mammals, birds, fishes, insects, and other animals move from one place to another at certain times of the year. This movement is called migration. So, there are many animals, there are many mammals, birds, fishes, insects, and other animals. So, what are mammals? Mammals are the uh, animals that give birth to their young ones, feed their young ones. Then birds, there are birds, fishes, and insects that move from one place to another. And these animals, they move from one place to another. Birds move from one place to another, so that when there is the change in the season, weather, when there is change in the weather, or to change their habitat, or when they find that at the place where they are living there is less availability of food, then they go to the another place where they can get a lot of food, and this movement is called migration. And migration is part of the life cycle of these animals. So this migration is a part of the life cycle. In their life cycle, migration is its part. Then here we see animals moving in group to different part. From one place they are moving to the other place, and this they do in the group, and this is called migration. They have shifted from one place to another place. Now let us see animals, why they have migrate, or why do they migrate. Migrate for different regions. Many animals migrate for different reasons. Many migrate to breed or to find food. So there are animals, those who migrate to breed. Breed means to give birth to their young ones, or to find food. If at the place where they are living, if food is scarce, then they go to the another place where they will get food in abundance. Then some animals migrate to places where they can hibernate, and some animals, they go to the places where they can take rest in the winter. When the winter it becomes harsh for the animals to survive, they go to the place where they can live over there and take rest. Now others migrate because the weather is too hot, too cold, too wet, or too dry during certain times of the year. So some animals, they migrate when the weather it becomes too hot for them to live over there. Then if it becomes too cold, then also they move. If it rains a lot, then also they move. And when it is too dry, then also they go to another place. Then most animals migrate across water, land, or air. So animals, they use water to move, or the land, or the air. So many birds and bats in northern parts of the world fly south for the winter. So there are birds, those who live in the northern parts of the world, and they go to the southern part to in the winter for migration. Then some whales swim from cold polar regions to warmer waters in winter. So some whales, they move from the polar regions. Why? Because in the polar region it is very cold. So they move from the colder regions to the place where they will get warm water in winter. So from cold water they have to survive. So they have gone to get warm water. Now see about that. While many of the world's species of marine animals migrate, none go the distance like giant baleen whales. So these giant baleen whales, they are marine animals. So what are marine mammals? So marine mammals are the mammals, those who live in the ocean, salty water, and they migrate to a longer distance. Now the grey whale, which travels as far as 14,000 miles round trip annually. So the grey whale, how much it travels? It travels 14,000 miles in 1 year. Okay, it in 1 year, and it makes a round trip, goes from one place to another and travels 14,000 miles in a year. And the humpback whale, which travels as far as 16,000 miles round trip annually. So this humpback whale, how much it moves? It moves 16,000 miles in a year. Migrate greater distance than any other mammal on earth. So this humpback whale, this is the mammal which migrates to the greatest distance than any other mammal. So no other mammal travels like this humpback whale. Then see, whales travel to cold parts of the ocean for feeding. Okay, so the whales, they go to the colder parts of the ocean for what? To get food, and move to warmer water to give birth to the young ones, and then they come back to the warmer water. Why? To give birth to their young ones. So in the colder part they have got food, and in the warmer part they will give birth to their young ones. So why do birds migrate? Let us see. Bird migration is a seasonal journey that happens twice each year. So the bird migration, it can happen 2 times in a year, and it is seasonal. It can happen in winter also and in summer also. Birds that do not migrate are called resident birds. So the birds, those who do not migrate, what are they called? They are called resident birds, and the birds which migrate, they are called migratory birds. So birds migrate in search of food. So birds, why do they migrate? To get food. Food is abundant in warm sunny place and nearly absent in dark snowy location. So they get food in the warmer places. In the warmer sunny place they get food, and they find that there is no food or very less food in the dark and colder areas. The food is nearly absent. Then see the birds migrating to the other places. So let us know about the Arctic tern. So Arctic tern, they make the longest migration from North Pole to the South Pole every winter and return back to the North Pole where the weather turns warm. And see, it is a very small bird. It is a very small bird. An average Arctic tern weighs 100 grams or 3.5 ounces, but it travels 656,000 miles or 90 kilometer average on a round trip. You can see here it travels from North Pole to the South Pole. Okay, from the North Pole to the South Pole, and then again back from the South Pole to the North Pole. Every winter it goes from north to the south and return back then to the North Pole again. So in the 30 years of lifespan, it travels 1.5 million miles or 2.4 million kilometer. So terns may travel in their lifetime. So they travel so much to a longer distance, and that is equal to 3 or 4 round trips from earth to the moon. So if we can understand that how long they travel, so it is equal to 3 or 4 round trips from earth to the moon. When we go 3 to 4 times, the Arctic tern, they travel in their lifetime. So recent studies revealed that the tern actually fly much farther. So now we have recent studies, it has been seen that they can travel much farther than 3 or 4 times from earth to the moon. More than that they can go. These are the Arctic terns moving or migrating from North Pole to the South Pole and back again to the North Pole. Now there are other birds also, migratory birds of winters like Siberian crane. Among the cranes they make the longest distance migration. So there are different cranes and among that Siberian crane they make the longest distance. They winter in India south to Nagpur and east to Bihar. So in India they might be found in the Nagpur area and in the Bihar also and other places. This is the crane. So why they come? The winters are cold in the native places Russia and Siberia. So the Siberian crane, they are from Russia and Siberia and their winter it becomes cold. So they fly east in search of warmer climate. So they come in search of the warmer climate. These cranes have to fly at high altitude mainly to cross the mighty Himalayan ranges. So they are crossing the Himalayan ranges and they come to India. And hence these birds travel to a number of Southeast Asian countries including India. So these cranes they have to travel a lot of Southeast Asian countries and then they come to India. In India also these cranes they come from Russia and Siberia they have come. So they will travel to different Southeast Asian countries. They travel China, Nepal, Afghanistan, then they come to India. These are the storks. So storks, flamingos, mallards are also different birds. Okay, let us see about this greater flamingo also. So greater flamingo is the state bird of Gujarat, India. And some population are short distance migrants. So some of them they go to short distance only. Then they take shelter in Pakistan and India. So flamingo they are the state bird of Gujarat and they can take shelter in Pakistan and India also. Now pelicans. So rosy pelicans. Pelicans are large birds with large pouched bills. So you can see here large pouched bills. The bird can be branded as partly resident and partly a winter visitor. So what happens here? This bird, rosy pelican or the pelican, they live in India. Okay, they partly resident means they are here, they live over here and they go and some of them they come to India. So in winter they stay over here. In winter they come over here, they stay and then they can move from here. It is found all over northern India from Punjab to Assam. So they are found from Punjab to Assam, the northern part of the India. Then bar-headed goose. So bar-headed goose is the highest flying bird in the world. So these bar-headed goose, they are the highest flying bird in the world and migrate to India in winter season. So they come to India in the winter season. The bar-headed migrates over the Himalayas and spread their winter in Assam to Tamil Nadu states of India. So we can see that they have come from the side of the Himalayas. Then they have spent their winter in from Assam to Tamil Nadu. From Assam to Tamil Nadu states of India they come over here. So these birds nest in the Tibet over the Himalayan mountains and reach the other parts of the India. They come here to feed. When the summer approaches, they fly back to Tibet. So these birds they live in the Tibet over the Himalayan mountains and then they reach to India, to the other parts of the India, as we have seen here, from the Assam to Tamil Nadu states, they can be found, and they come here to feed. That means they come to eat over here to find the food. And when the summer approaches, and in summer they go back to Tibet, where they nest, means where they have made their homes. This is moorhen or purple moorhen. This is also a migratory bird of India. Purple moorhen, migratory bird of India. And then these are mallards. They make V shape and they migrate to the other part to find food. So now we are going to read about the monarch butterflies first. So monarch butterflies, they have been known to travel more than 3000 kilometers during migration. They fly from Canada to Mexico. So we see here the butterfly. These are the monarch butterfly. They migrate to a very long distance, 3000 kilometers. They migrate. They travel more than 3000 kilometers. During migration, what they do? They fly from Canada. They come from Canada to Mexico. And then see the monarchs, what they are doing. These are all the butterflies which we are seeing over here. These are the butterflies. They cluster in groups. They cluster together to stay warm. So they cluster here on the leaf of the ivory fir tree. So tens of thousands of monarchs can cluster on a single tree. So you can see that thousands and thousands of monarchs butterflies, they can cluster on this tree, and sometimes the tree it becomes so heavy that the branch of the tree it also breaks due to their weight. And when they are returning back or coming from Canada to Mexico and returning back to Canada, it can take 3 to 4 generations to complete the migration. So millions of monarch butterflies live there. Some are breeding grounds in the northeastern US and Canada and travel upwards of 3000 miles to reach overwintering grounds in southwestern Mexico. So they are coming from US and Canada, northeastern US and Canada. They travel upwards, upside they travel, and they are reaching to the southwestern Mexico. And they spend their winter there. They feed over there. Now we will read about the migratory locust. So locusts are harmful migratory insects. Swarms of locusts settle on standing crops and then destroy them. Let us see. So they are migratory in nature with a lifespan of 90 days. So their lifespan is 90 days. So each flock of desert locust is referred to as swarm. So a group of locusts, it is known as swarm, and each swarm may consist of over 80 lakh locusts. And what they do? They are also known to chomp down on green crops. So they cut the green crops and they destroy. See, desert locusts feed on large quantities of green vegetation. So this desert locust, they feed on the green vegetation. You can see over here, they are feeding on the green crops and they destroy also. And this year also many locusts they have come to the Indian cities, to the Indian states also, like Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan and Jaipur, and they have done a lot of destruction. to the vegetation, to the crops. Government had taken steps also to prevent from them. You can see here, eating crops and destroying the crops. They are very harmful insects for the crops. Now see, migratory birds find ways by orienting themselves with the help of the sun and the stars. Now let us see what helps them. So they have eye. How do they move? Let us understand now. So they have eyes. So birds imprint on the patterns of the sun and stars. Complex chemical reaction between a bird's eye and brain also work with its magnetic navigation capabilities to allow the bird to sense which way is north. So what happens here? There is a reaction, okay? There is a reaction going on in the bird's eye and the brain. There is a chemical reaction which goes on in the bird's eye and the brain, and it looks like a magnetic navigation. So the bird is able to find out where to go. Navigate means where to move, and it can understand that which way is north through the eye. So if there is no one to guide, then the bird moves itself with the help of the sense organs. Now see here, then ear, how it helps. So tiny concentrations of iron in a bird's inner ear help it navigate using the Earth's magnetic field. So see, so there is concentration, tiny small parts, pieces, concentrations in the inner part of the ear. The bird has sensory part which helps it to navigate through the Earth's magnetic field. So the Earth is having magnetic field, and through this ears the bird can find out the Earth's magnetic field and it can navigate, it can move through it. Then beak, how it helps. The birds may use an olfactory map. So olfactory is the smelling part to smell their way around. So they can use this olfactory sense organs to smell their way around. With the smell they can move. The nerves in a bird's beak may help it determine the angle created by the Earth's magnetic field and the Earth itself. So there are nerves in the bird's beak, and it helps the angle created by the Earth's magnetic field. It creates an angle, and the Earth itself, it is creating an angle, and that the nerves of the bird, it helps it to identify that, and this helps the bird orient itself to a particular place, and with that help the bird can move to the where it is going, it can understand. So there are three sense organs the birds use, like the eyes, then ears and the beaks. They all help the bird to move, to navigate or to migrate from one place to another. So they can move so nicely without the help of anyone. They are moving themselves, and these sense organs help them to move. So we might be also thinking that how the birds move, and that is the way how the birds they move. So why do birds migrate? We have seen to get more food, then disperse their own breed to different regions. So their own breed, that means their own children or the young ones, they are dispersed. If suppose to one area they have their young ones and they move to the other part. Some of them they can be left in the place also, other place also. Then to protect their babies, for the protection of their babies also, they move from one place to another to get away from predators. So to be prevented from being eaten also, they move from one place to another to avoid disease. So to avoid disease, they go to another place. If in one place there is any kind of disease, they move to the other place, warmer or colder climate. So if the weather becomes warm, they move to the colder part, and if there is cold, they move to the warmer part. So thank you children. Thank you for watching. Thanks.